we're going to go on a little journey. Imagine you are on top of a small mountain and standing next to a flowing stream. Looking down from the mountain, you can see the babbling stream flowing to the bottom, and you can see it all. The stream taking its time in places. The stream widens, then narrows, water moving slowly, and sometimes the clear water moves quickly as the stream twists and turns to the bottom of the mountain. There are many rocks and stepping stones in this stream, and you wonder. You don't know why, but you jump onto the boulder into the center of the stream. Your focus sharpens, and then the next big rock reveals itself. You jump and safely land on the rock. It's as if the river is calling you, daring you. You leap to the next stepping stone and land safely. Suddenly, the next stepping stone reveals itself. You jump again, then again, then again, as the stepping stones serendipitously appear. They glow. They invite you, revealing themselves, and you leap. Your thinking stops. Your focus gives you a renewed confidence. Your pace quickens, stepping from one stone to the next. There is the sense of mastery and joy and excitement. There is a knowing that comes alongside your focus. And you say, I can do this. I can go to the bottom of the mountain through this stream. There is no plan, only trusting. The stream moves faster, and you move faster. You magically find your balance, being with the easiness, being with the water, the smell of the pine trees, the cool breeze. And your legs seem to know what to do. Every part of your body is collaborating with you. The rocks and the stream are collaborating with you. You intuitively know which rocks to avoid and which stepping stones are safe. Leaping, stretching, balancing, one stepping stone to the next within the flow of the stream. You are relaxed and calm and confident. Letting go of control and following something from within, and you are amazed, and you jump. And in the next moment, imagine you are stepping into the stillness. We will be in the stillness for about 1 or 2 minutes. as you are flowing down the river, with the river, the stepping stones revealing themselves. You reach the bottom of the mountain and look up, and you are in wonderment. And you ask, is this the way of living life? To be with the grace and with the stream of life? And letting go of control and following something else. The organic unfolding. So let's take a breath and begin to wiggle our toes and our feet and slowly move into the stream of this church, the stream of the people that are here, the stream of everyone in the Zoom. And welcome back. I see a few people sleeping. That was a joke. Yes, my man to the right. This lesson I continued to pare down. It was 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Now it's 40 to 35, and I'm trying to get it close to 30, so hopefully less. So I may be talking a little quicker at times. But my lesson is about organic unfolding, and some of the members of the church talk about what's the difference between organic unfolding versus controlling the unfolding. And so because I'm a student of life, I thought I would research that or think about that and teach that, because I believe if you want to learn something, the best way to learn it is to teach it. So here we go. So my lesson is about organic unfolding. And as usual, I will mention a place that is right here, an ocean of stillness that is aware. It has many names: God, Source, Consciousness. But today I will call it stillness. And so when you hear the word stillness, feel free to imagine your image of divinity, your image of God, or whatever name you would like to use in place of stillness. So, to my surprise, and having some of these experiences, stillness does not exercise control over anything. Stillness will never force. Stillness will never have power over you. Now, this recognition was just the opposite of what I've learned in traditional religions that say God should be feared, you must meet a certain standard to earn His favor, and if you don't meet that standard, you will be excluded from heaven. Does anyone see any hints of control in this way of thinking? Okay, I see some nods. It never quite matched up with my experience of stillness. What is the difference between control and organic unfolding? So I just want to open up the mics for a minute, about 1 minute, and open the mics for reflection. If you can hold that mic. And if no one cares to share, then that's fine. Let's just ponder the question in silence for a minute. What is the difference between control and the organic unfolding? So let's just think of that. And if you feel so inspired to take a leap, we will give you the microphone. Just right.
Maybe there never was a steering wheel.
Yeah. Say that again. Right.
Maybe there's no such thing as a steering wheel.
Maybe there's no such thing as a steering. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe if I let go of that wheel a minute, something new will arrive, appear.
Yes.
Manifest. Like, oh, I never saw that. I didn't even expect that.
Yes. Very good. We have another finger going up.
Okay, here's the central idea in my mind right now. If you control, then you close yourself off to an awareness of the infinite possibilities. Because really in the quantum, which is reality, is timeless and infinite options. So when you control, you're shutting off the flow of the infinite options. So that's my idea.
Me, it's the control was at the time, church authorities saw it as a great opportunity for power and control, and the people out there were through many years were basically illiterate. They didn't know how to read or even write, and this control was kind of in a way welcome because it took away their responsibility, which is going within and being responsible for this the organic evolution would bend responsibility back on each individual. And there's I think human nature likes to avoid that. That requires work, and it's easier to just take orders from the church authorities, and they say this is the way it is. Okay, if I do these rules and laws, I go to heaven.
Okay, so when I think of people having power over, instead of having power with another person or a situation, I think of control. And I think sometimes a lot of control is controlling our feelings and trying to control another person's feelings. And I think controlling has a lot of subtleties to it. So I'm going to name some ways that I've noticed controlling behaviors. I'm going to name some ways of people having power over. And then I'm going to talk about the organic unfolding. So here are some ways of having power over another. One way is through criticism. Criticism can be a form of controlling, to motivate a behavior. Even criticizing yourself can be a way to motivate a future behavior. Harmful, painful, sad, but it's a lot of times we do that. Educating people, telling people what they need to do without being asked. For instance, you need to read that book on how to listen to me. There's a little controlling in that. Following the beliefs that people are incapable of taking care of themselves. Shoulding, telling people what they should do. Interrogating, for example. Saying things like, what's wrong with you? Why did you do that? What were you thinking? Making yourself right and another wrong holds a quality of power over. Creating drama, for example, using gossip, is a power over strategy. Guilt is another strategy of power over. Trying to make someone feel guilty is a form of controlling. I once told someone that slice of pie has lots of calories and said, "Are you sure you want to eat that slice of pie?" And that person felt very guilty and gave me her slice of pie. Yeah, it worked. But there is a hidden cost to imposing guilt. And in my case, you can see that it's my enlarged belly. It's getting bigger from eating too much pie. So there's some humor in that. But guilt can also be hurtful. Moralistic judgments is a way of controlling another. For example, being called a sinner. And you must be a certain way to earn God's favor, else you do not belong. And I believe this thinking holds an element of shame. So I'm going to be talking about shame for a few seconds. That shame is a continuous sense, a constant sense that I do not belong anywhere. And that constant sense of I don't belong could also be translated to I'm not worthy of belonging. It's not that what I did was bad, but I am bad. And to carry that is a heavy, heavy burden to carry. And when shame is internalized, guess what? Then that shame controls us. And there is a constant sense of, I'm not good enough by being just the way I am. And so shame is sometimes difficult to bear. I mean, it's hard being shamed. And one of the ways we can try to relieve that shame, to relieve that discomfort of our own shame, is by judging and blaming others and making them wrong, which creates more shame and controlling behaviors, which reinforces the cycle of shame and control. Which brings me to blame. Blame is another way of controlling. And then, and if you blame enough, could lead to punishment. And so punishment is a form of control. This will teach you. This will teach you not to do that. This will teach you to change. Another blaming strategy is saying, it's your fault. You made your bed, now sleep in it. And you can also punish someone. There's lots of ways of punishing. You can punish someone by withdrawing your support or your participation. And this is a form of passive control. And when you punish and blame and that becomes normal, then you want to hide. People around you want to hide and then people stop engaging. And so there's no movement, there's no flow. You're out of the river. And you're avoiding engagement because you don't want to be judged. So this is kind of a toxic system that I see in our society. I see in most of our institutionalized systems, including churches. So just naming some of this. The threat of exclusion is a form of controlling. And yet we are born for connection. Our minds are born to connect and to be included. So to dive into that is another 3 weeks of sermons to talk about how we are born for connection. And that connection involves connecting with something unconditionally loving. And then expressing that with other people. Minimizing or denying how one truly feels has a quality of power over it. Needing to be right in the eyes of others or to make another wrong if they don't agree is a way of controlling. To give up your truth to gain approval for someone else. I used to do that a lot. I was a little bit of a chameleon. Like me, and in order to like me, I'll agree with what you say. And so it took me a while of my journey down that stream to say, well, I respect your opinion, but this is really what I think. This is really how I feel. And to own that individual expression of how I interpret my truth. Adopting an attitude of indifference could be a form of controlling and power over. To say emotions are a sign of weakness, or even not to say it, but act that out. Never acknowledging someone when they did something right, withholding appreciation is a form of control. And here's one, rewards can be a form of control. School teachers sometimes use rewards to shape behavior, but I wonder if this strategy misses the opportunity to teach children how to connect more deeply with themselves. And that connection is the reward. And I can say so much about that, because that connection is the connection to the love within you that you begin to allow to flow. And be in that stream feels great. Keeping score is another way of keeping control. I only have a few more left. I've cut back this list probably by half in order to meet my time commitment. Overworking, overeating, and other addictions are used to avoid feelings and are ways to control something. Analyzing and diagnosing another person. I see that really big in politics, myself included. Commiserating. Oh, you poor thing, it's unfair. And that commiserating kind of supports the victim stance to stay connected. But that's a form of control, in my perspective. Imposing your own reality onto another, saying, oh, it wasn't that bad. Oh, it wasn't that bad at all. To which I would say, hello, yeah, it was pretty bad, Being helpful can be a way of controlling versus empowering another to find their inner strength. And that's a tricky one. That's kind of a fine line we walk. And lastly, agreeing with another reality to avoid conflict. So sometimes, I mentioned the above behaviors, or I mentioned these behaviors, and sometimes these behaviors are motivated by good intentions, right? We want to help someone. We want to fix a perceived wrongness, so we control. We want to make a difference in someone's life. We want to control or help out. But I believe that these behaviors, more often than not, hold us back. They prevent us from jumping to the next rock. And in the jump, the experience of that jump is the experience of life. So let's talk about stillness. Here's the thing, and I'm just going to say it. Stillness does not control. Stillness will never force. And to recap some of the things I've just mentioned, stillness will never manipulate, will never judge, will never compare, will never interrogate, will never punish, will never reward, will never impose guilt, will never blame, will never pressure, will never diagnose, will never complain. I like that one. I'm thankful for that one. Will never threaten, will never criticize, will never exclude. And that's a big one. And will never shit on people and never have power over you. Oh, my stillness. Oh, my stillness. Thank you. Thank you for these awarenesses. Who knew? Apparently, a lot of people don't. And then they try to tell me that I don't know and try to control me, which, you know, it's an interesting dance. So, if stillness does not control or use these strategies, what does stillness do? Think about that for a second. I'm not going to open up the mics, but just think about that a second, and I'm going to share my answer. If stillness does not control, what does it do? Well, here's my answer. Stillness seeks to have power with you in the co-creative process to expand love. Stillness will never use power over you. And you don't have to agree with me, and I don't want you to, because that would be controlling. So let me say it again. Stillness seeks to have power with you in the co-creative process to expand love. And to me, that's part of the organic folding. And that organic folding has several qualities. Actually, it has a lot of them. I'm going to mention a few of them. And that first quality is trust. The opposite of control is trust. Trusting stillness that it will take care of you, it will take care of the situation, and to be at peace when you give it over to stillness, you may find a peace. And in that peace, then you can see or feel the next impulse and the next inspiration and the next stepping stone on your journey. Trusting stillness means to let stillness do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. I mean, when you think of it, stillness is creating this universe. There's so much power in stillness, and that power is within us too, if we flow with it. So when we trust, we become open, and that's another quality, to become open to the guidance of stillness, trusting one stepping stone at a time. And so this brings us to, trust. Well, that brings us to the inward journey. Yes, it's always an inward journey. The control I have is to explore my inward journey to remove the blocks to love. And the blocks of love are my old beliefs that say the world is not safe, the universe is not friendly, people cannot be trusted, I'm not good enough. And in that inward journey, we remind these separated parts that often experience some sort of trauma in our past. And what is trauma? Any experience where love was not. And so, we hold these little hands. We listen, accompany them, and show them with compassion, and invite the voice of love to meet them. And that is our job for the inward journey. Now, I'm not controlling when I say that's your job. I'm suggestions only. because I have been known to control every now and then. So this points to another way of being. So that inward journey points to your own organic unfolding, and that is the unfolding of healing. So in this inward journey, we meet ourselves at the river's edge, and we trust the stepping stones that appear in front of us. And and when we are in that river, there is focus. And I can't control what other people say. I can't control what they do or think. But that's none of my business. I can focus on me. I can focus on watering the inner garden that's with supportive friends. Thank you, Dan. I can focus on fertilizing the soil of my mind with kind thoughts. I can focus on the idea that it's possible. And in that love, something will begin to grow. That love within me will begin to flow. And who grows here? Not the love. I'm the one that grows. And in that growth, there might be an easiness. I don't know about you, but my experience of controlling is a lot of hard work. Controlling people, places, and things, it's exhausting. But when I let go and give my life over to something else, my life becomes easier and more playful. So here's the question, is love easy? Well, sometimes it's difficult to love. Sometimes it's difficult to love difficult people who basically are calling for love. But I believe the nature of love is easy. And when I look at children, I see them playing with the easiness of love. Kindness is easier than control. And when we let go of control, a child rolls out from us, and life becomes our playground, jumping from one stepping stone to the next. And we meet the playground of joy and easiness. And so joy is part of stillness. It always is here. It's always been here. Have we been with here? Are we here with joy? And that's, again, removing those blocks. And when we let go of control, we can feel a new freedom that naturally arises from within ourselves. Look at the children jumping. Look at those kids play. And so, touch base on scarcity. Sometimes the belief in scarcity can feed controlling behaviors. But is love scarce? If we focus on the abundance of love, then maybe that change in focus will change the way we see things. And maybe that abundance of love will manifest in ways where we're seeing so much abundance in things. And so when we focus on allowing the abundance of love, you will see the abundance of stepping stones in front of you. So step. Jump into abundance. Change. So I'm going to touch on change. Change is inevitable because love cannot stand still. Try to keep a child still for more than 5 minutes. Good luck. It's nearly impossible. Yet, those children want to explore new things. They want to try new things, and they want to have some fun. Is this not true for you and me? Is this not true? And when we play with joy, then the stillness meets itself through us. And this meeting place is the organic unfolding. And I have to mention acceptance. That can be a tough one for me. Stillness is unconditionally accepting. So if you're not controlling, what's left? Well, then, acceptance. That doesn't mean accepting, abuse or bad things happening. But that means accepting that this has happened and then listening to the next voice. Watching for the next stepping stone. And there is an empowerment in acceptance. But when we criticize and control and judge, then we lose our power. The power comes from the acceptance. That is where the strength of God is. That's where we meet the strength of God, the strength of stillness. And when we meet that strength, when we come to peace, from our own acceptance. We meet a clarity as well. And suddenly we see the next stepping stone. Jump. Our hearts, and this is a little bit of what you were talking about. The organic unfolding is about connection. Connecting with stillness is through your heart. It is sharing the qualities of love with someone else at the level of the heart. So we jump from our intellect into our heart. And then the intellect becomes the tool to serve the heart, and not the other way around. Not the other way around. I was taught for, going through K to 12, that it's the other way around. We honor our intellect, not our heart. And so, and when we honor our heart, then there's clarity, and we can see the next stepping stone. We can see what we love to do, and we move towards that. We move downriver. And so meditation is a way of letting go. Meditation is a way of becoming less identified with the outer conditions. I love meditation. I love this church that meditates. So we become more identified with stillness instead of the outer conditions. And that is a practice. It brings us to more acceptance. And the stillness, and in the stillness we have the clarity to see the next stepping stone. And in the stillness, in the meditation that we carry with us, we are more relaxed. And when we are more relaxed, we are more flexible, we are more capable, we have more of a mastery of our bodies. When we come to the organic unfolding, we come to know our uniqueness. We come to know our undivided selves. And I like what Pat said a few weeks ago, that we come to know the elephant that Pat skillfully talked about a few weeks ago. And we begin to see the bigger picture and to see the beauty of the whole elephant. And so meditation helps us detach from the close-up view of what's wrong, so we can back up a little bit and say, hey, things somehow are working out. There's some good going to come out of this. There's a silver lining. So that's how meditation comes in. It helps us to detach. And when we can see the beauty of the whole elephant and share our discoveries of the parts of love that we are finding, this is part of the organic unfolding. It's the part of the organic unfolding of unity. So when we let go of control, stillness calls us to also contribute to the whole part. We can, and that brings me to our gifts and talents. That being in the organic unfolding, love is coming through us, through our gifts and talents. And those gifts and talents are calling to us, because those are helping the whole of stillness, the whole of you, the whole of me, the whole of the world, through our gifts and talents. So let's embrace that. Let's have a place that says, I love your gift. Let's how can I support you in going there? I'm quickly reminded of a minister from Lansing, an older minister who took up an instrument. I think it was a sax or something. She was horrible. And she played it at the Unity Church. I think it was up in Lansing. And everyone applauded, because they weren't seeing the horribleness. They were seeing the unfolding of a new gift. And so we need to be patient with people as and see the unfolding of the gift. That's what we focus on. And I so much want a church that focuses on that. So that way I don't have to be perfect and I can relax. And speaking of music, let's talk about improvising. Instead of being ruled by control, we trust and follow our inspirations. We follow our gut. We follow our intuition. We let go of the plan, or at least be willing to change the plan a little bit and follow a sense, to follow a feeling. And musicians call this organic unfolding improvising, where the musical phrases rise from the stillness, and each musician in turn plays the phrase that they see. They see the phrase like a stepping stone in the river, and they just jump to it. And then they jump to these stones together, each musician in turn jumping to the next phrase that rises from stillness in the collaboration with stillness, and it's so freeing. So the unfolding, the organic unfolding, holds a beautiful collaboration that starts with stillness and then is shared with other people. I can't think of a better way of music to define that. And in that sharing, there's inclusiveness. Stillness includes all. And when we let go of control, we become more inclusive. We leap into being more patient. We leap into being more open. We leap into being more inclusive. And this is the organic unfolding of love. And how many times have we not been included? How painful is that? So let us be a church of inclusion. And if pain is there, let us include that pain too. Let us be vulnerable. Because when we are vulnerable, we lose control. And all of control is preventing us from being vulnerable to our own feelings, our own fear. So let's be vulnerable with each other. So stillness does not control, but it calls to us. And when we begin to let go of control, we can hear the call. The call from love is like our lungs calling us to breathe, to take our next breath. And when we breathe, our lungs expand. And when we breathe in love, our life expands. But it expands with us. See a child smile, and it is your smile too. See kindness, and it is your kindness too. And when we see the stepping stones, we know it is ours. There's a knowing that comes with this organic unfolding. And we leap into belonging, we leap into peacefulness, we leap into joy, into gentleness, into patience, acceptance, trust, openness, inspiration, compassion. We are with the organic unfolding of unconditional love that is always right here. Always. Always, always, always. Sorry if I sound a little controlling on that. Perhaps I'm being passionate. And when we can feel the impulse of the river of life calling us, the next stepping stone will reveal itself one stepping stone at a time. So in conclusion, there is a conclusion to this, by the way. In conclusion, I wrote something that was inspired by a good friend of mine, a lady who I love, and her name is Turia. And I don't know if she's here with us. She might be. But she talked about a golden chain that had knots in it. And as she tried to pull out the knots, they got tighter. And so she let the knots go. And to her surprise, the knots unfolded by themselves, and the links fell into the chain. And it was a little miracle. I think it was the place working in her life saying, hey, here's an example of what's possible. And so I wrote about that, and actually we wrote about it together. So this is how I want to conclude. As I pull anchor, the tangled knots in the golden chain, knots that have grown more insistent through forcing and controlling, are beginning to release. Though I fumble, the knots untangle like magic. The knots release, and the links join with their neighbors and fall into the golden chain that weaves my life. My grace grows. Some sense of ease appears, and my sails catch their wind, and the nautical miles quicken. Ease has many depths, but in the deep, the untwisting of my thoughts reveals a magnificence. My magnificence, your magnificence, our magnificence. So here's my question. Are you willing to let go of control and allow organic unfolding in order to have everything you want? Thank you for having me today.
Okay, let's go right into comments and questions, and then we'll change up a little. Well, I guess the mic's in front of me. I'd like to quickly say that when I hear a talk such as Mark, there's, in my mind, there's a process going on, and I'm inputting this talk with things that are in my mind already, and they're generating little flags waving. And the first one that came up was control. And I have gone to the, in the playbook, control has been an important thing in my playbook, especially when there were issues of safety, fear, and uncertainty. And I would go right into control to make my world safer, to be more predictable. And I realized this kind of fits into a talk I gave a few weeks ago on personality versus individuality. And control issues obviously fit right into our personalities and our egos. And we think it's making it a better place, but as Mark pointed out, it does create other problems, sometimes greater than the ones that we initially started with. Stillness fits right into individuality, which is our God self. That's the thing we were born with. It's of God. And when we get into stillness, we get in direct connection with our individuality. So that's my...
I fully see that. In fact, when I meet a problem that I figure out has got to be, if I'm feeling bad for any reason, I know my personality has a problem. Because my higher self, my inner self, my stillness, doesn't have a problem. It's my ego, it's my personality that has a problem. That's my cue. Okay, so I have a problem. Then I'm learning from my studies here and through life so far that I have to turn it over. I have to let it go. That kind of turn and go is what I call that, the stillness, if you will. And when I do that, I trust that there is an answer. I may not know what the answer is. I jump from one stone to the next with inspiration, or with joy, or with gratitude. I find a way, usually for me, appreciation, gratitude, joy, those things. When I think of how faith has served me and try to change the situation in my mind for my personality, my ego, to appreciation and joy, and give it to my higher power, I am amazed how the stones appear in the stream. They just do. I've seen it happen so many times. I just know it now. Of course, in the world we're in now, fear does loom its ugly little head from time to time. But I've had, it is a practice. One does have to learn to turn it over, because there's nothing else you can do. If you can't control a situation, you might as well give it to God. And there's no limit on the times you do it. There's no end to it. The love is eternal. And that's my 2 cents.
One of my favorite authors, I mentioned in the things I've shared here, often refer to favorite authors. And one of them is Wayne W. Dyer, Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. And he has 2 acronyms that are very convenient for reminding oneself of some truths. And one of them is for fear, FEAR, standing for false evidence appearing real. And the other is ego, EGO, standing for edging God out. Because with the whole control ego thing, as I mentioned earlier, my thought that control is like closing off the infinite possibilities. Well, that's kind of what Wayne Dyer said with edging God out. God is the infinite possibilities, and you're edging it out when you use ego. Response was to the central metaphor in what Mark was saying, which is about stepping stones. It's really interesting because for a long time in my own thoughts and mind over many years, I was often thinking of that concept of stepping stones. And I came to a conclusion that a stepping stone is kind of a decision point. You decide what the next step is. There's a decision implied there. And I thought about, in terms of divine guidance and how do we know what steps to take, what is the next step. And in my own meditations, and I'm sure everybody's got their own idea about how you know what the next step is, but in my own meditations, I came to the conclusion for me that the next step is always the step of joy. And so when you're faced with infinite choices, that you would choose that which you know at the time to be the most joyful. In the future, you may know something else to be even more joyful, but for me, whatever you know at any particular point in time to be joyful, that's your next step.
Thank you, Mark. I enjoyed it, both of you today. All of you, everyone. This thing about letting go of the wheel, for me, has been quite a journey with the last year with my folks who are getting up in years and have had surgeries. And so it's been an experience of having your schedule, whoops, now we change because we have another hospital experience, and then we have recovery, and of course I'm helping as a caregiver. The gift is immense. It has become a practice for me, and of course our life experiences lead up and sort of, at least from my experience, they add up to where we're at now, is I'm going to get up tomorrow and see what comes because my life has been so different. Caregiving is demanding, and there's lots of things that go along with that, and fear and coping with the body. And so I really enjoyed this idea about stepping stones, and I'd like to end my little comments today with saying, I got up this morning with the intention of starting to paint my deck, which I did for 2 hours. And all of a sudden, I thought, I'm going to jump in the shower and drive over here. And so, again, the gift of life as an unexpected series of events for me has led to this freedom to flow and be. And on the drive here, I heard from within, there's a wonderful surprise for you today. Your subject matter today, Mark, is precious to my heart, and it's been a big part of my life. So I could almost tear up at hearing someone share it because I resonate and I appreciate it. So thank you to all of you today.
Anyone from Zoom wish to add anything?
Good morning, everybody. This is Leslie. I don't really have anything to add, so I'm just going to say thank you for sharing the message and for all of you for being here. I really enjoyed taking part in this morning.
I think it's looking like we need to have coffee hour after church again.
Okay.
We need our connecting time.
Yeah. In closing, I want to thank our speaker, Mark, and for your talk and your meditation, our music, Dave, our camera person, and and Zoom technician. And to you newcomers, welcome back next week for more of the same. As you can see, we are evolving what we do here in this building. And we made a decision quite a while ago to kind of help people bring forth their own inner God and develop their own talents and sharing their talents. And so far we really like the results, and we hope you had a good experience today, and we want to welcome you back next week and in the future. And we will close together by singing the peace song followed by the prayer of protection. We'll do that together. So of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. Wherever God is, we are. And that's the truth.